If you feel like you've lost the ability to truly switch off, it isn't a lack of discipline. It's actually a sign that your system is working exactly as it should to keep your world from falling apart. It's a specific kind of exhaustion. It's not the tiredness of a long day's work. It's the heavy, buzzing fatigue of being the person who holds everything together. You're the one who remembers the deadlines, the one who notices when a parent's health is shifting, the one who manages the friction between family members, and the one who ensures the household or the business stays on track. On paper, you're successful, you're disciplined, you're the responsible one. But lately, you've noticed that even when the house is quiet and the laptop is closed, your body doesn't seem to believe it's safe to rest. Your mind is still scanning. Your muscles are still braced. You're physically present on the sofa, but your nervous system is still standing guard at the door. This is the reality for many high-functioning adults between 35 and 55. You've spent decades building a life of responsibility, but now, that very competence has created a biological bottleneck. You aren't aging faster because of bad luck. You're aging because your system has forgotten how to stand down. Today, we're going to look at why this happens and, more importantly, how to signal to your body that the shift is over. Think about your typical Tuesday. You wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, your brain is already inventorying the day's risks. The presentation at 10 a.m., the leaking roof, the tone of your teenager's voice at breakfast that suggests a looming conflict. You navigate it all. You are efficient. You are the fixer. But consider the cost of that role. When you are the one responsible for everyone's stability, your nervous system adopts a state of hyper-vigilance. To the brain, being responsible for a family and a career in 2026 feels remarkably similar to being responsible for the safety of a tribe in the wilderness. If you relax, who will watch the perimeter? This is what we call the allostatic load. In simple terms, it's the wear and tear on the body that accumulates when you're exposed to repeated or chronic stress. For the high-functioning adult, this isn't caused by a single trauma, but by the death by 1,000 cuts. The constant pings, the emotional labor of caring for aging parents, and the internal pressure to never drop the ball. You might feel a sense of guilt about this. You think, I have a good life, I shouldn't feel this frayed. You might even try to fix it by adding more to your plate. A 5 a.m. workout, a strict new diet, a meditation app. But here's the hard truth. You cannot biohack your way out of a nervous system that feels fundamentally unsafe because it's carrying too much weight. Your nervous system isn't broken. It's actually doing a brilliant job. It has recognized that you are in a high-stakes environment where people depend on you. Therefore, it has kept the engine idling at a high RPM so you can respond to the next crisis instantly. The problem is that an engine idling at 4,000 RPMs wears out much faster than one resting at 800. To change this, we have to move away from the idea of doing more and toward the framework of subtractive longevity. This is the first part of our framework for reclaiming your system. The first pillar is recognizing the competence trap because you can do everything you do. Your nervous system stays alert because there is no redundancy in your life. If you don't do it, it doesn't get done. This creates a state of functional freezing. You are moving, you are working, but internally, your system is locked in a state of high alert. How do you recognize this? Look for the bracing sensation. Are your shoulders toward your ears while you're driving? Is your jaw clenched while you read an email? This is your body physically preparing for a threat that never actually arrives, but never actually leaves. The second pillar is differentiating between sleep and downtime. Most high achievers think that if they get 7 hours of sleep, they've recovered. But if your nervous system spent the 16 hours before bed in a state of high alert, sleep will be shallow and unrefreshing. Sleep is a biological function. Downtime is a nervous system state. If you go from a high-pressure Zoom call straight to trying to sleep, your body is still in warrior mode. It hasn't been given the signal that the perimeter is secure. To your biology, closing your eyes in that state feels dangerous. We've established that your always-on state isn't a personality flaw. It's a biological response to being the one in charge. We've looked at the cost of being the fixer and how that keeps your allostatic load at a breaking point. But recognizing the problem is only half the battle. In part 2, we're going to complete the Subtractive Longevity framework by looking at environmental triggers and physical cues. Then we'll look at what this looks like in a real-world scenario, how a person with a mortgage, a career, and kids actually signals safety to their body without needing to move to a cabin in the woods. So we establish that your inability to relax isn't about a lack of willpower. It's a result of your nervous system staying on guard because you are the one holding your world together. We looked at the competence trap and the difference between just sleeping and actually down-regulating. Now we're going to complete our framework and look at how to practically apply this to a life that doesn't have room for extreme protocols. Continuing with our subtractive longevity framework, the third pillar is managing environmental micro-triggers. As a high-functioning adult, your environment is likely designed for productivity, not recovery. Every notification on your phone, every urgent red bubble, and even the clutter on your kitchen counter acts as a micro-trigger. To a regulated system, these are minor. To a system that is already carrying the weight of holding it all together, these are signals that the work isn't over. You can recognize this in your own life by noticing your reaction to a simple text message at 8 p.m. Does your heart rate spike? Do you feel a flash of irritation? That isn't stress. That is your nervous system telling you it has no more capacity to process new data. The solution here isn't to be more resilient. It's to aggressively subtract the input. The fourth pillar is somatic safety cues. Your brain takes its cues from your body. If you're breathing shallowly into your chest and moving with urgency, even when you're just making toast, your brain assumes there is a crisis. You are effectively lying to your brain, telling it there is a predator nearby through your physical movements. To break the cycle of hyper-vigilance, we have to provide physical evidence of safety. This doesn't mean an hour of yoga. It means consciously slowing your walking pace from the car to the front door. It means exhaling longer than you inhale for just 60 seconds before you walk into your house. These are safety signals that tell the nervous system, the person in charge is not running, so I don't need to be on guard. Let's look at how this looks in a real-life scenario. Take David, a 48-year-old executive with 2 teenage kids and a mother in the early stages of dementia. David felt broken. He was doing the cold plunges, taking the supplements, and trying to hit the gym, but he felt more fragile than ever. He was the one everyone called when things went wrong. His nervous system was permanently online. Instead of adding another health protocol, David practiced subtraction. First, he identified his vigilance peak, the hour after work when he felt most on edge. Instead of checking emails while dinner was cooking, he put his phone in a literal drawer in another room. This subtracted the micro-triggers. Next, he addressed the competence trap. He realized that by being the fixer for every minor issue at home, he was never allowing his system to rest. He purposefully stopped noticing things that weren't emergencies. If the dishwasher wasn't loaded perfectly, he let it stay imperfect. This was a signal to his brain that he was no longer on duty for every detail of existence. Within 3 weeks, David didn't just feel less stressed. His resting heart rate dropped, and the buzzing in his legs at night disappeared. He hadn't added a single longevity hack. He had simply lowered the ambient noise of his life so his nervous system could finally hear the signal to rest. It is time to reframe how you look at your fatigue. You are not broken. You are not getting old in the way the world tells you you are. You are an incredibly capable person whose system is currently overloaded by the sheer volume of holding it all together. Longevity, especially after 40, is not about finding the secret supplement or the perfect 20-step morning routine. It is about understanding that your nervous system is the bottleneck for everything else. If the system feels threatened, it will prioritize survival over repair. It will prioritize staying alert over longevity. Your goal shouldn't be to become more disciplined. Your goal should be to become a kinder captain to your own ship. Recognize the weight you carry. Acknowledge that your body is staying alert for you to help you handle your responsibilities. Then, give it permission to stand down through small, subtractive choices. You don't need to move to Sardinia to find quiet longevity. You find it by reclaiming the space between your responsibilities. You find it by deciding that for certain hours of the day, the world can spin without your hands on the wheel. When you finally stop trying to fix yourself and instead start protecting your system from the noise, you'll find that your body already knows exactly how to heal. It just needed you to tell it that the shift was finally over. If this perspective on your nervous system resonates with you, you might find our next discussion helpful. We'll be exploring why doing everything right, the diets, the workouts, the schedules, actually stops working the moment you stop feeling allowed to rest.